Welcome back. This is the 5th round. I had a glitch when I was recording, so I'm just going to give you the quick lowdown. This is Naya Dinosaurs versus Green-Black Midrange. Little pause here. I did keep a very good hand that lets me curve out. I didn't cast the ramp spell. I cast the Brontodon instead there. Because I didn't need to ramp into a 5-drop when my next play was a 4-drop anyway, and I already had 4 mana for my next turn. What I found out here was my creatures are just way bigger than Green-Black's creatures. And I just need to leverage that and make sure I don't lose to a Find Finality. So at this point I'm just keeping the aggression going. I felt like my opponent did have that Vraska's Contempt because they held up 4 mana the previous turn, and I was surprised they didn't use it. Now, one thing I did notice in that particular case, my opponent was very willing to chump block their elves, which made me feel like they did have a Find Finality, but I just kind of had to, remember I discussed it for a minute, I had to play, just keep progressing my threats, keep attacking, keep go, go, go. When my opponent let me go to combat and did not kill the Regisaur right here, I noticed that that meant they didn't have a removal spell because they would have cast that pre-combat, so I couldn't attack with the dinosaur. My opponent Memorial to Folly brought back a Jadelight Ranger and found a Chupacabra. So I knew that my alpha was dead anyway, so I didn't mind attacking him into the Jadelight Ranger just to keep beating down my opponent's life total. I knew that that would put me in a weird spot with Chupacabra then killing my 3/4, but I felt like that was okay, simply because I did have a lot of aggression on the board still and was able to knock my opponent to 8 life at this point and could keep just attacking in. I didn't mind using my Lenore Elves here, just to get a little bit extra damage through. Green-Black doesn't have a ton of life gain main board, so I did not mind that. My opponent played a Vivian Reed here. Sorry, I didn't mind losing my creatures for attacking. My opponent plays a Vivian Reed here. Gets the 1-drop, which they needed. 1-drop blocker just to not die. I did not draw a removal spell, so I attack in with everything. They block again, killing my Lenore Elf, but go to 1 life. Find Finality would have wrecked my day there, but Ripjaw Raptor as a 4/5 is very safe from that card. And then my opponent concedes. Game 2. So I sided out a Clarion, so I only had 2. And I sided in my Tocatli Honor Guard, siding out my 2-drop Manadorks. So I kept an interesting hand here. I deliberated it for a little bit of time. I did have turn 1 Dinosaur, Ancient Stirrings effectively. Turn 3, very large creature that they really can't deal with, except for a Jadelight Ranger that got a little lucky. So I liked this hand. It had all the color mana I needed, everything else, and went from there. I drew into the Clarion, which I thought was very important in this matchup. Even though I did side one out, I think that it can beat some of their more fast starts. So I just played a tap land. They flood their board with a bunch of weenies, drawing a ton of lands, which they didn't play. I dropped my Brontodon. They cast a Chupacabra, kill the Brontodon, swing with a lot. They're down to 3 cards in hand. I just kill everything with Clarion, play a tap land. My opponent does nothing. I curve Regisaur Alpha, but with the trigger on the stack, they kill him, so I can't attack with a 3/3, which I thought was a good play. They cast a Carnage Tyrant, which would counter anything I had if my hand wasn't so good. So I cast a Carnage Tyrant, pass. I decided to attack in. I willingly take that trade. They do. And then I cast another Carnage Tyrant. Commune into another Carnage Tyrant, and my opponent concedes. Couldn't even cast it. I was going to cast the Regisaur and then swing for 16. So that was Naya Dinosaurs versus Green-Black. The big thing to take away here is, aside from the fact that I forgot to record the video, I forgot to hit play, is how much bigger the ramp deck creatures are. Sure, they both run Lenore Elves, but Branchwalker, Chupacabra, these are 2 power, maybe, 1 power, 2 power. Jadelight Ranger could be 3 power creatures. They all died to Deafening Clarion. I don't think Deafening Clarion should be a 4 of in this matchup, but having access to that, I think, is very powerful, especially when the life gain could matter in a matchup where it all of a sudden becomes a mid-range race. We were able to see that a little bit, even though I was at 12 life and they were at 18 when I attacked with the Carnage Tyrant. They had no way of answering it. They had to accept the trade, but I do run more Carnage Tyrants than they do. So that's the matchup. Again, just leverage your bigger creatures to beat Green-Black. Green-Black, on the other hand, needs to leverage their removal spells like Chupacabra, Cast Down, and Vraska to take key creatures like a Regisaur or a Ripjaw and find some way to get rid of that Carnage Tyrant they know is coming down. So that's the video. Hope you liked it. And this league ended at 4-1 with my 1 loss coming at a matchup that I absolutely punted. So this could have been a 5-0. I think the deck's strong. Still think it needs a little bit of tuning. And that's about it. Thanks for watching.